A Look at Seniors is underwritten with the generous support of Centers Healthcare. Heart, Health, Home.
Welcome back, everyone. Boy, and the series we've been doing, Look at Seniors, you learn so much, and you learn this kind of two sides to the issue. Does the facilities and the people we're talking to, do they have the skill to do what they're doing? But the second part of it is one that always really seems to give Lois and I something to talk about, is how is this population being cared for? And over the years, we've gotten to know Centers Healthcare and their facilities in our community quite well. And joining us today is Elie Schiff, who is the administrator for the Schenectady Center for Rehabilitation. So first, welcome.
Thank
Elie,
you.
very nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So you said something to me before when we were talking about the Schenectady Center. You said that the one thing that you do is you try to put yourself in their shoes. And you know, Lois, think of all the things that we've talked about. Mm-hmm. You know, there are facilities, right? But what differentiates one facility from another would be their ability to do that, right? How do you do that?
So I think really understanding that the population has it's a real need, and trying to put yourself as a family member. I have family members coming to speak to me all the time, and I try to be on the other side of my desk and saying, how would I feel being in their shoes, and really trying to be sympathetic and spreading that word around to all the staff on how we could really go above and beyond, and notice that if we were, they don't want to be in our facilities. It's not like just living at home. It's not a 5-star hotel. So if we could do what we can to really make them feel at home, and home is what we really, stand for, I think the stay there will be a lot more of a positive experience.
And I would imagine, Lois, you see this every day, that's a very fluid concept, because needs change.
Well, sure. Needs are going to change. Anything can happen. Any kind of a, you could be living independently, and then suddenly that changes, whether an illness. We saw a lot this winter with flus and how that takes a toll on our seniors, or a fall, or, any incident can change the direction of the living situation. So going from independent, and again, I think we also discussed having the need to go into one of these facilities can be as simple as, or not so simple, but as rehab, or other levels of housing that you see need.
Well, you know what? You said something to me. It was a term I had to look up, subacute. And when I was asking you about some of the changes that you've seen over the years, you went to that right away. Can you explain a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, sure. So now we're in 2018, and healthcare, it's a tough industry. Whether people are being discharged, residents are being discharged from the hospital a lot sooner than they used to be. Hospitals feel the pressure to get their residents out to the community, and many times there is a transition period where they can't just go home. So we're seeing now into our rehab, starting with short-term rehab, residents coming in that their needs are just a lot more, which requires us to up our game and have more advanced equipment, have more staffing, have better trained staff, and it's a challenge again that we embrace.
Now, is your goal there to have someone go through a rehabilitation process to go back into the community?
So yes, absolutely. Okay. So our number one goal is, and it gives me the most satisfaction when I see a resident come in, I welcome them in pretty bad shape, and hopefully, 2 months later, they're going out. And I was going to say wheeling them out, but hopefully we're not wheeling them out. Hopefully they're walking out back, to go back home. That's our biggest satisfaction. However, there are cases where, unfortunately, they're never going to get back home, and then we have the long-term, units in our nursing home, in our center, and they go there and they live comfortably there.
Well, you know what? That brings me to the next topic, because if someone does need to be there, and from what you've told me about your population at the center, you really do try to create an environment for them in kind of two ways. One would be comfort, so it isn't so institutional, right? If you know what I mean. And then the other thing is to an environment that actually might be a little bit of fun, Now, what's behind that?
Well, both of those are key, obviously.
Yeah.
What we see is, obviously, the senior population is growing. It's booming. There's a lot of need. We're living longer, so whether you do need to go in for short term, longer term, whatever it is, we need these resources in the community. There's a lot of seniors out there.
You know, it wasn't too long ago that I visited the Argyle Center,
Sure.
which I think is called Washington, right?
Yes.
And I was taken, you know, you see the facility and, you know, they have the equipment and all of that stuff, but I was so taken with the skilled staff, the nursing staff, and also things like they had model trains set up. This might sound insignificant, and it isn't, right? It's about comfort.
It's not insignificant. This is what we were talking about, home, trying to make it a home-like environment, not an institution. And our recreation team and our nursing team are trained. I mean, we try to get people, let's say, for that population. If it's a dementia unit that has, you know, dementia experience,
Yes.
somebody that, you know, could really help that population. And in recreation, you know, we go as far as bringing in animals as animal therapy, whether it's baby horses,
I bet.
whether it's a trained dog, and different things that, you know, sensories, different things that the residents could really feel like they're having a good time as well.
And that they're stimulated.
Absolutely.
Right, and that can come in many forms. It could be physical
Absolutely.
stimulation, mental, emotional, or whatever. But again, putting yourself in their shoes.
That's the
Right,
main.
think
that's-
about that. That's a very powerful statement.
And I
by
think
the
a
way.
key piece is, you know, having enough resources around here, like the transportation piece we talked about. You know, I've had many of our seniors have to go in to one of these places to go for rehab and have it be 45-minute drive away, and you can't get their loved ones down there
Yeah.
to visit with them. So I think one piece that you guys do is transportation and help out with that, and that is key as well.
I remember when you started that transportation system, and now you have it throughout the centers in our region, right?
Throughout the continuum,
Yes.
even down the city, we have our own shuttles, and if a family member does need, you know, they'll give us a call, and we'll transport them in to visit a loved one.
Well, you know what? I really appreciate you coming in and talking about this. You know, it takes an expert to really sort of explain the subtleties of what we're talking about. You know, we face it ourselves. My mom is suffering from dementia and is in care. And you mentioned about your family and your family. So, you know, when you think about this, think more holistically about it, I think. And you can always find out more. You can go to Centers Healthcare. There's a number of facilities in our own community here. And find out, you know, the steps you take for yourself or for your loved ones is very important. And you want to try to put yourself in their shoes. Oh, great. Elie, a pleasure to meet you. Thank you very much for coming in. Great to see you, Lois.
Thanks, Justin.
And welcome back.
They can always call the center if they have any questions or need referrals out as well.
I've got Saratoga Senior Center. Got it. Okay. Great to talk to you.
Thank you.
To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.
A Look at Seniors is underwritten with the generous support of the Wesley community. Greater health, greater life, greater Saratoga.